Speaking of Germany, there was a record potato harvest in Berlin, and they're giving them away for free. That has nothing to do with anything, but I'm really glad you told me. Wow, that is the most potatoes I have ever seen in my life. God damn. 4,000 tons? This looks like more than 4,000 tons of potatoes to me, but I do not know. I have no, like, mental math. My calculations on this were not informed. Germans love their potatoes. They eat on average 63 kilograms a person every year. The average German eats like half a potato a day. Every German, even the old and the children, averaged into that. That's crazy. Cool. When was the last time you had a baked potato? Yesterday. I ate a ton of potatoes. They have always been like my main diet food. Say potato. Potato. Boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew. What about beans and potatoes instead of beans and rice? Beans and potatoes is a lot texturally. Like, you can in some contexts, but if you're having a baked potato, beans are not like the first thing you're putting on that. My name is Adam Murphy. I'm running for Congress. I want to speak with you, a citizen, stream with you and others. Well, I can't promise anything. I haven't really had people on stream in quite a long time. If you want to reach out to me, you should do so through my email, but I have to warn you, I've turned down quite a few requests to speak to me. At some point, I'm going to get my head in the game for the midterms, but right now I'm very much in that, like, Jeffrey Epstein's ghost controls the world. There's no point to politics. All of us are just shadows on the wall of the cave, mindset. So it's a little bit difficult for me to get involved in, like, yeah, everyone, go out there to Washington 7 and vote for the marginally more progressive guy. And then in my head, I'm like, but will this dislodge the deep state cabal that controls the world? I need to get my head a little more in the game. Go to Majority Report. They're much better for outreach. The Majority Report is much better for outreach. That is true. Potato. Belarus eats 160 kilograms of potatoes per year. That is insane. But, whatever. You get what you can, right? 170. Holy shit. Potatoes are an amazing diet food. Because they really, really, really fill you up. Are potatoes an ancient plant? I don't fucking know. They have vitamins too. I mean, for me, it's just like 300 calories of baked potato. You can add obviously you want to add toppings, but 300 calories of baked potato on their own, incredibly filling. 300 calories of rice, not as filling. 300 calories of bread, not even remotely filling. That's like 2.5 slices, Potatoes are very, very good at filling you up. Now rice is OP. I love rice, but I mean, I'm just talking about potatoes right now. Epstein ate potatoes. Is it worth the risk? We got to move it along. There's a great video on how modern liberals also lack a vision, which is why they lost appeal. Well, that's my theory for why the Democrats are doing basically nothing about Trump and the Republicans, because the thesis of the current Republican Party is there is no future, so all we can do is loot the present. And the response from the Democrats is, yeah, you're right, there is no future. Like, the Democrats don't seem to have any more compelling a vision of what the world is supposed to look like. You don't have to be a genius to see why the world is the way it is. Climate change, income inequality, the enemies are very obvious. You don't have to be politically partisan to notice them. They're objective and in your face. But Democrats offer no solutions to any of these problems. Nothing but infinitesimally small, microscopic, reformist bullshit that does nothing but distract you while the same people as always get their jobs done. And I think that the Democrats ultimately agree. Like, basically everyone in power right now no longer believes in anything. But Vaush, couldn't you make the same argument with the Fuentes types? Fuentes obviously has no vision for the future. Right now, he's like doing a pro-Epstein bit. He's just a loud contrarian who says what he says to get money, like most people in this space. It does make me wonder how many people there are out there who legitimately, earnestly believe in what they're talking about. On the right, essentially none. And the ones that do are madmen. On the left, probably a decent number. But I don't know how many... I don't know. Do you see any comparisons between Nick Fuentes and Milo? Apart from their sexual orientation? Yeah, they're like the same guy. These people are all the same to me. They vary only in their affect right? It's just a matter of like how they talk, how funny they are. Fuentes is much funnier than Milo. Hold on. I should have done this like an hour ago. Woo! Oh, man! Those were some big ones. Oh. Could you hear those? You heard that? Nice. Yes, it was disgusting. How is a back crack disgusting? The juxtaposition of wearing sweatpants with that jacket. Yeah, unfortunately, and this is a consequence mostly of my big hips. I've got like a lot of fat distribution in my hips, and also the bones on my hips are wide, so I have big hips. Is that all of my like cool pants just not that comfortable to sit down in. I've lost a lot of weight, so we're getting in that direction, but the pants that I would wear with these would be like cargo or fatigue pants or like a pair of chinos or something. And of those pants, well, actually, I have a pair of hemp fatigue pants that would be pretty good. I don't know. The sweatpants are comfortable. What's the point of wearing a shirt with a lower neckline than the jacket? Huh? I'm not wearing a jacket. It's a vest? What? It's a tank top. It's a tank top under a shirt. I'm really happy you're taking steps for your health. When Michael Brooks passed, it kind of broke me. Unfortunately, what took Michael Brooks could take any of us at any time, can't it? That was just like rolling a nat 1 on the cosmic dice. I don't really know if there's any amount of exercise, good eating, or stretching that I could do to really prevent that. That was just like fucking random. Really sad. Do you want to know what I've been up to with regards to my my progress? It's not been much right now. I'm still just trying to work on the nerve flossing, so my sciatica reduces. Yesterday I did core and shoulders day, which was very fun. I learned a very good shoulder exercise for flexibility and strength, which is where you sit like this on the ground, probably not on a chair, and you've got a dumbbell, and you do this like that, and it gets you good. It gets you good, you know? Really gets you good. Please shut the fuck up about workouts. Absolutely not. The personal is the political. The consequence of taking poor care of yourself is a resurgence in fascism, okay? It's a direct consequence of people getting, on average, more pathetic. We have to fight for people to be stronger, because strong men don't turn to fascism. As a leftist liberal, I've been understanding more leftists and why they want to overhaul the system. My struggle is that my issue is that they struggle with resonating a lot of the working class people to theory-pilled. Yeah, to an extent. The leftist needs to understand their natural ally is the university student, not the, like, Appalachian coal miner. And it can be difficult to do that outreach, but I think that for the most part, leftism is still seeing a pretty meteoric rise in its popularity over the past, over the past decade. God, since Bernie in 2016, it's been about a decade now, the number of people who would call themselves socialists has just skyrocketed, you know? It is up there. Curious about your take on the Alberta separatists? Probably not good. Canada separatists accused of treason after secret talks with U.S. State Department. Yeah, they should be arrested. This is real, by the way. The U.S. State Department reached out and talked to these separatists, but America is an enemy nation. If you are, as a Canadian, colluding with the American government to secede and thereby give America more autonomy over your province, yeah, you should be arrested for sure. Alberta sucks. Yes. Look, one of the big things that ended tribalism as we see it here in the West was industrialization. You know why? Because everyone had to move into the cities. Like, tribes are what sustain tribalism, literally. Like, separate, ethnically homogenous communities, small ones, usually rural. When everyone has to go to the city to get a job, like being fed into a big mill or whatever, you know, everyone has to go spend some time having their fingers mangled in a press. those ethnic divisions tend to kind of melt away. Look at America. Irish, Italian, Jewish, a lot of these communities started off as distinct ethnic subgroups that had their own communities in New York, but like nowadays we're just like, well, they're New Yorkers. Are they originally Puerto Rican, Dominican, Irish, Jewish, whatever? Yeah, sure, but like that's not the prevailing identity, and people also for the most part aren't out there forming street gangs to defend themselves over it. Back in the 50s, people were still doing like West Side Story shit, right? But nowadays, like, people aren't really forming gangs in New York to defend the ethnicity of their neighborhood. If gangs do form, they might be ethnically aligned, but they're usually because of some underlying economic problems, right? You get me. Basically, what I'm saying is that you need a certain level of industrialization or economic centralization to incentivize people of different communities to mix together, and that then tends to like destroy, the tribalistic, the tribal conflicts. You do need a certain amount of gabagool. Liberalism wins again, unironically. Yeah, 100%. I was inspired and I made you something. Stupid. I saw this on the Reddit. Hello, comrade. I reached out to you last week about the Vaush donor-only survey. According to our records, it says you're a top VGG donor. However, it still says that under your name, it's response pending. Don't tell me you're a fake VGG fan. No, that cannot be true. This is your final warning. I can't talk. To prove Vaush wrong, will the elite trans bounty hunters need to come and track you down via your IP address? I do have it. I do have it. This is so stupid. Yeah, well, so are you. Fuck you. Hasan at 100K viewers right now. Do you think this opens you up to collaborating in the future? No, I don't. I don't think Hasan being enormously popular opens up the the collaboration window anymore for me. The problem with us collaborating was not he wasn't popular enough for me. That wasn't the issue. That being said, I'm very happy that his stream went well, and it seems that they unbanned him on Twitch. Am I correct in that? They saw him get like 150,000 viewers on YouTube, and they were like, ooh, and they unbanned him. Am I wrong on that? I thought I saw somebody say that. He did? Okay. He got 1 mil? 1 mil concurrent viewers? No, he didn't. Nobody gets that. What do you mean? You mean 1 million total viewers? Yeah. On the VOD. Yeah. But that's not... concurrent and total views, very, very different. But irrelevant. He did very well. He did very well. How the hell is Vaush a Hasan supporter? Please tell me that was a joke. I mean, I don't watch his content, but he's the largest leftist live streamer. I think he brings a lot of people in the generally correct direction. When I hear a take from Hasan, I agree with him like 99% of the time. There's stuff he said I've disagreed with, and when he says something I disagree with, I say it. I've never really been shy about that. I feel like sometimes it's a little bit performative, the Hasan hate, Like, does he say bad stuff sometimes? Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. Like, my country right now is run by a cabal of demonic pedophiles. And every day, more information about them being pedophiles comes out and nothing happens. It's just so far down my priority list. Like, the world is ending in 50 ways, and none of them are Hasan being, like, cringily, overly complimentary towards China. Vaush, he argues against electoralism. Truman Fate, I don't know if you've watched my recent streams, but I have not been particularly enthralled by electoralism lately either. If you were to say, hypothetically, that electoralism is a passing concern right now because the Democratic Party is entirely captured by people who are allegiant to the same interests as the Republican Party, you would be correct. That is a correct statement. You are objectively correct. Right now, the two frontrunners for the potential Democratic primary nominee in 2028 are Gavin Newsom, who is the devil, and Kamala Harris, who is the devil. I am so uninterested in these candidates that I stand by this, legitimately don't care if they lose to a Republican. The problems this country is facing, or are facing, the problems we're facing are not just extensions of Republican malice, but long-term systemic problems that Democrats have fed into as well. And I would rather, again, I mean this, I would rather preserve in people the hope that a Democrat could do better than confirm the opposite by allowing somebody like Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom continue to tank this country by allowing its underlying processes to run undeterred. you know? Better we reserve hope. Look how much Biden did for this country, after all. Do you feel safe? Do you feel like Biden protected you? Maybe if Trump had won in 2020, he would have just burned himself out now. Hasan just made a video about how he supports electoralism, which pissed off a lot of his fans. Maybe I'll watch it. Maybe he's more pro-electoralism than I am. Maybe we're switching places. Maybe in 2028, Hasan's going to be out there with the vote Biden, 2028 term as Biden comes back after surviving the removal of his prostate. And I'm going to be out there, Paul's ego posting. Who knows? Who knows? Defended you on Hasanabi subreddit and people lost their minds. It's like they hate you more than actual fascists. They may actually, People tend to hate those who they perceive in their proximity more than they hate people who they perceive as, distant foes. It's unfortunate, but no, my reputation is probably forever poisoned within that community for, largely fucking stupid-ass reasons. But, that doesn't mean arguing with people is going to change their minds. Usually, like, arguing with them over it only reminds me that they ought hate me, like it reminds them to feel that way. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not happy about it. Jay Powell is killing the little guy. High interest rates balloon our debt and give that money to lending banks who don't hand down gains to their customers. The Fed only serves the rich. Well, the system is set up so that the rich are being served in both directions. Like, if you raise interest rates, what you describe is true. But if you lower interest rates, you make it easier to borrow money, which is how the leveraging of, enables rapid wealth accumulation by the 1%. So it's not really like the problem isn't raising interest rates. They should be higher. The problem is that the system at large, the wealth always flows upward. There's no tool that the Federal Reserve could employ that would change the fact that wealth accumulates upward. I've seen when people try to use AI to write game code, it doesn't work out very well. Doug told ChatGPT to give him the code for Snake, and it eventually worked after a dozen times of it not working. Yeah, and that's for Snake, right? Again, like, you really, really, really don't want to vibe code video games. Video games are really fucking complicated, The only time ChatGPT is going to meaningfully help you with coding is if you're basically just copy-pasting solutions from the net. Like, build me a thing that does X, and then it just searches online. Here's an example on GitHub of a thing that does X. Brant, copy-paste. But if you're doing anything novel or iterative, it's it's just not going to help you. Epstein supposedly had a hand in the appearance of microtransactions in Call of Duty. Oh my God. May 3rd, 2013, from Jeffrey Epstein. X Prize is a good idea, but key is real-world rewards. Learn to read. Learn cell phone minutes, iPhone credits, virtual items in games. From Pablo Solman. I'm all for indoctrinating kids into an economy. You have to love how his example for real-world rewards is virtual items in games. Is there a bad thing that that Epstein, either, I guess, doesn't have a hand in? Like anything, anywhere? Is there a single thing anywhere on Earth that he didn't? Democrats had this stash and nothing came of it because they are all one big pedo party and they protect each other? Yes. Bohemian Grove was real, and so was all the rituals mimicking rape and human sacrifice in their elite clubs like Skull and Bones. Honestly, given the Epstein files and everything we've learned, all the stuff that would have been conceived of as like the most unfathomably out there shit just a few years ago. You can believe whatever you want about the elites now. Here are the things you are not permitted, okay? You cannot fall into apathy. You can't be anti-Semitic, right? The vast majority of these people are men, but it's not a men issue. The vast majority are white, but it's not a white issue. You can't be anti-Semitic with this, okay? And you have to hate them. And as long as you fulfill all of these criteria, you can feel however you want about them, Like, you can believe whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Still, they have only released 20% of the Epstein files. 20%. I can only imagine what remains in the 80% they have not yet released. Considering what we've seen already. I'm British on the right, and I don't really like you. Fair. But I have to admit, you're the only person I can listen to and expect to hear the honest truth about the files. Bless you and thank you. Oh, well, whatever our disagreements, if we both hate Epstein and Israel and the Antichrist, then okay, that's something, right? That's something. I've been saying I hate the Antichrist like every fucking day now. I'll like stub my toe and say it. I said it the other day when I was I think I was grating a potato and I accidentally dropped the potato in the sink. It's it's true though. I do hate the Antichrist. I didn't think my Sundays of watching the Jerry Springer show while eating Chinese food with the valedictorian of my high school would ever be useful, but it does make viewing the incompetence and clickbait malice of the current admin make way more sense. Is this like what the turn of the century people felt with the circus? Maybe so. I don't know. I think that like it does help to understand modern social media if you are trying to make sense of the current administration, you know? I feel like oftentimes watching mainstream news talk about the Trump administration is a complete waste of time, not only because they're, you know, complicit or they're folded in with the same power structures, but also because they genuinely have no fucking idea what's going on. They have no clue. They have no idea why the Trump admin is acting this way. You know, they're like bewildered. They can't approach it from like a psychological or social state. They have to approach it purely from like wonky political analysis, which keeps failing them because a lot of the stuff they're doing is objectively irrational. I don't know. You have to get silly with it. You have any advice on how to avoid giving into despair? Stretching. Okay? You wanna hinge, you hinge, and then you go down as much as you can, and you're really feeling your hamstrings, right? You keep your back straight, wah, and you go down as far as you can, and you just repeat that 10 times. Big old pike stretch, you know? Don't try to bend your back or whatever. You can just like hinge, just hinge at the waist. Thanks, I'm broken now. You know what I'm getting good at, by the way? I'm getting really good at the sumo squats. Or the horse stance squats, where you have your feet like nice and wide. Look at that! Look at that, dude! Holy shit! That's lower than I've ever gone. Look at that! How far can I go? Like how wide, and I can still like go to parallel. Wow! Woo! Oh man. Progress on that one's coming quickly. Ooh, not easy though. Ooh, not easy though. Whew. Shaking my legs a little bit there. We are getting silly with it, yeah. It's hilarious you think that's good squat depth. Lexi Glorb, what the fuck are you doing? You just asked me how to avoid giving in to despair. And I showed you stretches, and this is how you repay me? I was going to parallel. Do you see how far apart my feet were? That was pretty far. It's pretty far. Vaush, I can literally just sit in a full squat position with my ass touching my ankles indefinitely low. Yeah, so can I, but my feet were really wide apart. Did you not see how fucking wide I was out like this. I'm doing parallel squats while my feet are like 3 times the width of my hips. This is easy. I could do this forever. Look at this. I'll just stream like this. I don't care. I can see chat. I can't really see chat. You're a little blurry? You were to me too. You were to me too. Are we still live? Yes, we are. Did I tell you guys about the knee stretches? Look, the knee stretches. Where you like you're on your feet and you do that. And you really feel it right in your knees. Do that 10 times, go as deep as you can, and your knees will get stronger. Whoa. Just like that. That looks bad for the knees? No, it's good for it. Getting a workout. Gotta work on my cardio though. Man, I lose my breath like that. You know what's weird? Nobody ever brings up the keloid on my right earlobe anymore. When I got my keloids frozen off, I got this one removed and it's stuck. It's normal. It's a normal earlobe. No one brings that one up, ever. Because it's on the other side of my face. But not only you guys, no one does in real life either. It's weird. I actually don't remember that I have a big earlobe keloid until somebody brings it up. You know, it's just a little. No, I know my head is tilted. It's just like I never. Is that why in some old videos you hear that thing in your ear? Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, people in real life also only see me at like a 3/4 angle from the left side, like this as well. Keloid, is that what those are? Yeah. Did you wear gauges? No, pierced my ear when I was in college. Regular old normal ear piercing. Cleaned it, you know, did all the normal stuff, but I'm just genetically susceptible to keloiding. But keloids are really, really, really tough to remove because they're basically like non-cancerous, but they're like non-malignant cancerous scars, basically. Like they're not cancer, but the scar tissue grows out of control. Uncontrolled cell growth. So the problem is, how do you remove it? If you cut it off, what happens? A scar forms. It reappears, oftentimes bigger than before. You know, you can't just cut it off. So what they had to do for me, and this is a very rare procedure, I'm very lucky that I got to get this because there aren't that many places that offer it, was cryotherapy, where they cut a tiny little puncture in it and they threaded a tube and they ran liquid nitrogen through the tube and they freeze it to kill all the cell tissue. But by destroying it that way, rather than cutting it, there's nothing left to rebuild. You know, you don't. You're not like cleanly cutting it off, and then there's a big scar that can grow out again. You're killing every individual cell, all of them, with no exceptions, all over. You know, it's pretty cool. Kind of a pain though. How do they not kill the ear? Carefully. How does that not form a scar on the ceiling point? It's because of the way the frozen cells die off. They don't form like, you don't have a clean division between the stuff that's cut off and then the severed tissue and then the normal unaffected skin cells. You have a, like, it's hard to, the freezing destroys the cell wall, not the cell walls, it's not a plant, but it destroys like the cohesion between the cells as well as the cells themselves, which means that it basically just melts away. And what you do is you encourage the cells to develop a different healing response to the typical scarification one. Specifically, you're training the cells to respond as though it was a burn, which is basically what it is, right? Like a burn does the same thing as the liquid nitrogen in that it doesn't just cut cells, it kills them by subjecting them to temperatures that the cells can't survive in, you know? So when you're recovering from like a burn rather than from a cut, the body responds to it differently, which means that it's not producing all the collagen and so on that you would for a scar. However, it doesn't always work. It grew back. That's why I have one on my right ear. Didn't grow back on this side, did on this side. So, isn't there a dimple where they put the thread? Yes. So why do my 3rd-degree burns get keloids? Dog, I don't know. I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm just explaining what I remember. I know that, like, the body responds to burn injuries differently than it does to severances, right? So it's just a matter of like in a technical sense, like what chemicals it's responding to the injury with. Can piercings get keloids? Yeah, that's what happened to me. You know, I don't know. Well, anyway. Oh, Kowalski from Nebraska. Most of my medical issues are pretty minor, and a lot of them would be fixed if I just lived a more active lifestyle. So I'll fix them all. Don't worry. Wait, Vaush, do you get keloids from other cuts, like from kitchen accidents? No, I've gotten cuts all over my hands and arms and so on, just living life, and I've never gotten a keloid anywhere other than my ears. But I got the same keloid on both earlobes at the same time in the same way of the same size. So there's something about how I'm written genetically that makes me very, very susceptible to keloiding in my earlobes, but apparently nowhere else, which, okay, you know, could be worse.